Welcome to the Everyday Comfort Podcast, where we help homeowners make smart decisions and save money, and guide contractors on building trust, growing their business, and delivering real value. Let's dive into the show.
Hey, I'm Anthony Mound, and this is Everyday Comfort, real-world guidance for homeowners and home service pros to help you make smarter decisions, avoid expensive problems, and stay comfortable year-round. Today's episode is sponsored by Trust One, your local plumbing and HVAC team in Quincy, Massachusetts. Our mission is simple. We help people win. The company wins, the employee wins, and the customer wins. This means clear communication, quality work, and a customer experience built on trust from start to finish. Learn more at trustoneservices.com. I have Chad here. Rise 25 has done thousands of interviews with successful entrepreneurs and CEOs. We have flipped the script, and he'll be interviewing me today.
Hey, Anthony, can you give me a parts and labor breakdown?
I sure can. Just give me a second here, Chad. All right. So we get this question a lot, Chad, and so I kind of wanted to put this together, build this out. I'll give you a breakdown of what's going on here, Chad.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot more that goes into things. It's not just an invoice on a piece of paper. What goes into it? So you got sales, you got membership revenue, you got rebates, you got manager discounts, service fees waived, or any other discounts, financing fees come off of revenue because they don't actually come into your bank, right? And then here comes the cost of goods. This is the cost of physically doing your job. It's about half of every single dollar. So 50% of every single dollar goes to some type of expense. So 25% of that, materials and equipment, breaks down to about, like I said, 25%. So you got equipment, that'll be your furnaces, your condensers, your water heaters, your boilers, materials, all the fittings that go into that. And then purchase discounts, anything we negotiate back. So if we get vendor rebates, those would go back into this. This obviously isn't broken down because there's so many things that go into it, Chad. So, And then you got direct job costs, whether that's like you hire an electrician, subcontractor, all your permits, and of course fuel, because you got to drive the vans. Those are things that go into the direct job costs. Direct labor. So this is where you'd get the labor, right? So you got your wages. So this is what you'd pay the technicians and the installers. This would be the overtime, the nights and weekends, the no e-calls. Incentive pay, if you want to incentivize your team on different things. These are the payroll taxes, the health insurance, the retirement, the workman's comp, and then a commission based on what you're paying commission for. That accounts for about 15% of that total job. So out of the $100, $15 of it, direct labor. Yeah. It's pretty crazy what goes into it. So half the invoice is already spent before the office lights even turn on, right? Does this make sense so far, Chad?
Yeah, interesting.
Then you got the office. So this is the engine behind the technician that comes to your house. So you got the person who answers the phone at 7 o'clock. You got the payroll taxes for that office person. You got the health insurance. You got the retirement, overflow call handling. And then, of course, you got my pay. That's involved in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
No one calls a dispatcher for fun. You get a live agent, someone human on the payroll. So it's not just office team. This is also your managers. This is like your service managers, your install managers, your operations managers. Those are all the team members that make the cog in the wheel move, right? You need those team members to support those office field members, or you'd have catastrophic disorganization or tons of issues in the field. So it's important we have those team members so we can make sure customer complaints get handled. We have processes and procedures that our teams can adhere to. So very important. Advertising counts for about 10% of that. So every single dollar that we generate, about 10% of that has been spent on advertising. Whether that's Google, Facebook, agency fees, postcards, website, Bing, anything like that. That's what gets our phones to ring. That's how customers find us. Trucks. So this would be vehicle expenses. This would be maintenance. This would be monthly payments, parking, tolls, anything like that. That makes up about 5% of the business. So at least that's our target. These are all targets. Sometimes they're higher, sometimes they're lower.
Mm-hmm.
So then it goes into software and office. So that's 1.5 to 3%. So that's our field service management, That's our supplies and postage for the office, cell phone service, any other softwares that you have, whether it's your phone system, anything like that. So these are some other things, some emergency merchant service fees that we pay, financing platform fees, bank fees. So every time we swipe a card, things like that. We do a lot of training and education here, Chad. We got to make sure our team is up to date on new products, communication skills as well. So training, travel, and then of course recruiting. We always got to make sure we're adding new team members to support our customers, and then team events. This is very important. So that makes up of anywhere between 1% to 3%. We want to make sure our team is happy. So doing outings and events, and then of course uniforms. We want to make sure our team has uniforms. So when we show up, you know who we are. Everything else. So you got accounting and legal services, consulting, you got rent, you got internet, you got waste disposal, you got insurances, bad debt. Bad debt would be anything where someone refuses to pay a bill. So of course that has to come out of, it has to go into our overhead. Customer relations, anything that we have to do to get money back or anything related to making a customer happy, appreciation. And then, so here's the breakdown. So we call it the big five. These are the targets that we go for. So materials and equipment, you got 25%. Direct labor, you got 15%. Office salary, you get 15%. Advertising, you get 10%. Vehicle expenses, you have 5%. So your total comes out to 30%. Where it leaves you, so we got everything else, software, card fees, all these things, 10 to 15. So what's left is 20%, 15 or 20%. So out of that $100, we hope to make, 10, 15, $20. So
Wow.
pretty
Interesting.
crazy. Yeah, so
Yeah,
that's our
that's
goal, and that's before you pay taxes. Then you got the tax man knocking on your door. So
sure. Well,
obviously, yep.
that's interesting. So let me so let's say you or somebody from your team came out and I was having a problem with one of my toilets and you guys came out and fixed it. You did a great job. But now that I see that, it's a pretty long list. Which of those did I actually pay for when you came to my house?
Well, if I'm gonna be honest with you, Chad, you paid for all of it. It's unfortunately it's the costs that go into running a business and making sure that we do a good job for you, make sure we're there to support you in the back end of it. Anybody's going to have those expenses unless it's just a one-man show. You're still going to have the levels of expenses. You're still going to have your material costs, your labor, your fuel, all of those things. It's just what other things are you not getting on the back end. So,
Well, I mean, I understand paying for some of that, but I mean, like advertising. My toilet helps pay for your advertising. I already found you.
yeah. Well, Chad, you got to find us quickly, right? So you have an emergency that helps you find us very fast so we can get out same day or next day. Fortunately, Google is not cheap and everyone has to pay. So,
And your truck, maintaining is your truck is my expense.
unfortunately, it is. We have to drive to your house. I always make a joke. I'm like, Chad, you could bring your plumbing to our office if you wanted. But obviously you can't do that, right? Like we go to a dentist's office, like it's one of those things. Customers can't come to us for us to fix their problems, so we have to drive a van with materials and everything else in it.
Fair point. Fair point about not being able to bring my toilet to your office. Why does the office cost about as much as the technicians?
Like I said earlier, it's a cog in the wheel. The office has to support the field, right? We need dispatchers to make sure the technicians are doing their notes, making sure invoices are paid, make sure our office is running seamlessly, make sure we have team members to answer the phone, make sure we have managers to make sure that our team is doing a good job by the customer. If I just sent texts out to your house, they would kind of do whatever they wanted to do or whatever they felt was right. So we got to make sure make sure they adhere to good standards and make sure you get a great product.
You said that the technician's pay is more expensive than his hourly wage. What does that mean?
Yeah, so you got payroll taxes, you have benefits, you have 401k, you have workman's comp, all the things that go into paying a technician, not just their exact hourly. So like that technician might make 50, $60 an hour, but its total package with all the expenses might be 100, 120 just to get your technician working there. So that's not counting anything else.
You offer 0% financing. Somebody's paying for that, right?
Yep. It's funny. I always make this joke when you go to a car dealership, they actually get paid to offer financing. And so it really frustrates me. We actually have to pay a fee to offer financing, but it makes it more affordable for customers. So yeah, that goes into our expenses.
So just from a business owner's perspective, and I'm just asking you this out of curiosity, not to be
Yeah.
a whiny customer. What happens to a company that can't keep these numbers in line?
They go out of business. That's usually how it goes. And sadly enough, Chad, um, some companies they are afraid to charge money. They're afraid, they think they're not taking care of the customer, or they think they're price gouging or things like that. But in all reality, they're hurting the customer and themselves. Obviously, we don't want to overprice. We don't want to overcharge the customer, but we want to be priced correctly so that we can stay in business. We can reinvest in our employees. We can get new trucks so they don't break down on us. We can make sure other customers find us. We can just reinvest in the company and make sure we stay around a long time. I've seen a lot of businesses go out of business just because they're not afraid to charge. They are afraid to charge what they're supposed to be charging.
Was this something you learned over time, or did you expect this right when you opened your doors?
Definitely not expect this right when I open the doors. I mean, like I wear like 10 hats. I'm like a financial person. I'm a vehicle expense person. I'm a marketing expert. I'm a leadership, expert. I'm a like all these different hats. I'm like a technology person. I'm like when I was working for someone, I'm like, cool, I get to fix plumbing and HVAC today. But now, like, what happens is I have to manage all these team members that there's so many different personalities, and I got to make sure they're happy and make sure I'm doing right by them, and make sure the people are calling us and making sure that our expenses stay in line, and many different things. I could ramble on forever for that.
Sure. So you came into this as a plumbing and HVAC expert, and now you're doing, what, like you said, 10 other things. Among those 10 things that you weren't kind of classically trained for, what's your favorite?
I honestly love marketing. I'm a huge fan of marketing, Chad. I love like looking at data and finding and getting the phone to ring, and having customers find us. And I don't know, I just like the data and the analytics and making things happen. And then sales, I love sales. I love helping customers find solutions, and I love training my team on communication skills. That's like, it gets me all excited. My whole team acknowledges that. So
Yeah, nice. What aspect of marketing, whether it's SEO or advertising or whatever, has been the most helpful in terms of getting your phone to ring? Or has it just
honestly,
been a
all of it,
combo?
it change. Yeah, it's a
Mhm.
combo of everything, and it always changes. Because like one thing could work really well last month, and then that thing changes to this month. So you have to like really look at like a rolling 90 days and find out what's working well and making sure that you're tracking it properly. Because if not, and then not just that, you have to make sure the person's answering the phone and they have at least an 80% booking rate. And then the technician who goes out to the house, you got to make sure they have good communication skills so they're actually getting money from the service calls. So there's so many different faucets of that that goes into it.
Okay, good stuff. What's on there that I would never have thought of in a million years?
I think a lot of it on the software fees behind
Yeah.
it. I think a software fee is a big one. I think our customers are very smart. They know that like certain things cost money. I think they know like it costs to pay technicians and insurance and things like that. But I think when it comes to, like how much people spend on marketing, I think that's another one too, that most customers don't know, or, training and education and how much that costs. Um, they get to all the stuff like leasing and vehicle and rent and stuff like that. Like they understand that stuff, but there's just so many, expenses behind the curtain there.
Okay, well, good stuff. Very eye-opening. Thanks so much for sharing it with us, Anthony.
Cool. Thanks, Chad.
So long, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Everyday Comfort Podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.